Welcome back to Amazin But True, our New York Mets podcast from the New York Post. I'm your host, Jake Brown. Follow me on Twitter at Jake Brown Radio. Follow the pod at Amazin But True. Nelson Figueroa let us know at 2 a.m. that he's off to Syracuse today for fantasy camp for the weekend. So I am back solo, but fear no more. We do have a special guest joining me in just a few minutes. Hello, Jerry. That's right. Jerry Blevins, former Mets relief pitcher, and does a terrific job on SNY as a pre- and post-game analyst for the Mets. He will join us in just a few minutes. No Doc Gooden, like I said. He ended up being on the show with Joel and John. So they robbed our guest, and it was a great interview. But hopefully we'll have Doc on sometime in September. But the big news of the day, well, first off, the big news of the night, of Wednesday night, was DJ Stewart. He really has to buy diapers, and a lot of them, for his kid, because he is playing like a man that wants to be on the 2024 Mets roster, wants to be on a major league roster. 8 homers, 13 games. He hits 2 homers last night for the Mets. He makes a game-saving catch. Literally saves the game against the wall, where he runs into the wall, makes a catch. Looked like Mike Baxter-esque with that catch, except this wasn't for a no-hitter. It was for kind of a meaningless Mets game in August. And only fitting that he walks it off by getting hit by a pitch. A bases-loaded hit by a pitch in the 10th against Aroldis Chapman to win it. DJ Stewart night. But that wasn't the biggest news of the night and the week in Mets land. Ronny Mauricio, the Mets' touted prospect, their number 4 prospect, number 1 in our hearts, number 1 at the dish. He's finally up. He's coming up Friday, September 1st. Rosters expand to 28, and it is Ronny Timber, Mauricio Timber, whatever you want to call it. He will have 28 games with the New York Mets and a chance to finally see what he's got. Ronny Mauricio will make his debut Friday at Citi Field, assuming he starts. I mean, it would be a very Buck 2023 move if he's called up and is not in the lineup. I mean, you got to sell some tickets. I know it's fireworks night, but fireworks in September get old. Ronny Mauricio needs to create fireworks. By the way, their fireworks display is terrible there at Citi Field anyway. It's a pyrotechnic show. The music is better than the fireworks when they play the music. So if you're going for the fireworks, you're going to be heavily disappointed. But if you're going to see baseball, you might not be. We finally get to see Ronny, switch hitter, will be 23 in April. He's 22 right now. He's hitting 292 this year in 116 games. He's had similar numbers as a righty and a lefty. He's played all around the field, so I'm not sure where they'll play him. It depends. If Brett Beatty is also called up, I would imagine Beatty plays third and Mauricio is either in left or he's the DH. It makes sense to start him as the DH. Vogelback, again, while he's in for power lady, he's not part of your future. So that's going to be interesting to see where they play him. I'm sure they'll move him around, but Ronny Mauricio will make his debut Friday. Thank you, Lord. Is it better late than never? Yes. Should it have been earlier? Yes. This move should have been done in July. Once it hit August and the Mets were sellers, then it made sense to wait because of his contract status, but now you get a month to see it. Is it too short of a sample size? Probably. But listen, DJ Stewart has had a short sample size, and he's made the most of it for a chance at maybe a bench spot next year. Now, we're not living in a fantasy land. DJ Stewart's not going to be a starter. He's going to be a spring training invite, whether that's the Mets or somewhere else. He's no lock to be in any lineup, but he's playing so well. He's hitting so well. He's been, big for the Mets that we expect him to have a shot here in 2024. And Ronny Mauricio is going to have his shot to be part of that 2024 roster. And I'm looking forward to seeing him on Friday. So let's chat with Jerry all about it. Alrighty, joining us now. You can catch him on the pre and post game show sometimes on SNY. He does a fantastic job there. He is a former Mets reliever, 4 seasons for the Orange and Blue from 2015 through 2018, 13 years in the big leagues. I'd say he was an elite lefty reliever, a lefty specialist, had a very nice career and a nasty hook. And I hate to age him, but Jerry, you will turn 40 years old coming up next week, September 6th. It's Labor Day and Jerry Blevins Day, all in the same couple of days. Welcome to the show, Jerry Blevins. Hello, Jerry.
Thanks, Jake. Thanks for having me on, man. Yeah, I'll take elite anytime you want to throw that word around. I'll take it. And I'm excited to be 40, man. I'm starting to, I don't know if you can see it from there, but there's some heavy gray coming into there. This head of hair of mine. And I feel like I've earned them. So yeah, it's a fun time right now.
I see almost zero gray, and the positive is you still have hair. Some of us, have decided to cut it short and get rid of it. I became 40 in my 20s, so it hits us a little earlier than some others. But yeah, I mean, in the bullpen now, you'd be a Hall of Famer. I mean, you would be a New York Mets Hall of Famer. Your number would be retired in the current Mets bullpen. Can you still pitch, Jerry? If the Mets said you're our September call up along with Ronny Mauricio, could you pitch?
I could do not very much. I haven't thrown like hard in a long time. It would be very painful. But Jeff Brigham looked great last night.
Yeah, it's good to see him back. He shined early on, and then, what we talked about on this show with Figgy was that he's never pitched as many innings as he did in his career. So I think his arm just got the best of him, and now he's back. And what I do like about him is the intensity that he shows. I mean, he looked like a playoff game, how fired up he was. You wouldn't think the Mets were, a dozen games under 500 when he celebrated on DJ Stewart night in Queens. There were no bobblehead. A couple of people said he looks familiar to me, similar to me. I don't think so. I guess it's maybe the chubby cheeks. I don't see that resemblance as much. But yeah, how about DJ Stewart? This guy, he must buy expensive diapers. He talked about the diapers for a kid. His kids are expensive. You have kids, right? Like diapers are pricey. I think he's buying whatever the best Pampers are going to get because he's about to earn himself either a roster spot here or somewhere else the way he's playing.
Yeah, what a good story, man. I don't think he looks like you. To me, he looks like Russell Martin. I just see some very similarities between him. But what a good story. I mean, he's fun to watch. He's kind of a comeback story. He's a guy that couldn't stay healthy, and you can see why he was a first round talent. He's come into his own, and I think he's humbled with baseball and how things can move around him. And so I think that fire inside of him has burned for a long time, and he's very likable. That story you talked about his post game, he doesn't take this game for granted. He's just enjoying playing. He understands that that playing in the big leagues is very hard to do, and you got to have a lot of things fall your way, timing wise, health, all the above. And he's got some skills, man. Anytime you can get a left-handed bat with some pop and some fire, it's an asset to have. So I think he's earned the right to depending on what the Mets end up doing this offseason, I think he's found at least a roster spot moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, it invites spring training to fight for a roster spot, depending on what the Mets do. And yeah, people forget he was a first-round pick. He got a $2 million signing bonus, and then with the Orioles, didn't do much, had a bunch of injuries. So good for DJ Stewart. Another guy
game. They remind me of the Mark Canha game from last season. Obviously, implications are a little bit different, but just exploding.
And running into the wall, it was like Mike Baxter-esque. The Johan Santana no-hitter. Obviously, game didn't have much implications on Wednesday night.
That right wall has a lot more give in it than the left field wall. So he got Baxter's smash into the wall that had a little bit of higher stakes and definitely a higher impact.
Did you ever experiment? Do you know from have you ran into the wall?
Oh yes, absolutely. Shag and fly balls. You try to rob every homer you get, every chance you get. It's like, one of the funnest things to do in all of sports. I can't hit the home runs, never get that opportunity. But when you can rob one, I think I probably had 2 or 3 in my entire career in BP, just, timing wise and effort wise. Cause the older I got, the less I'm running down the gap and trying to do that. But definitely I've run into the walls. My favorite, just a quick, the old Metrodome where the Twins used to play, they were like these pulled tarps and you could bounce and it would like slingshot you forward. So those were fun to rob there too.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I didn't see in your Wikipedia batting practice outfielder. I only saw relief pitcher. So we might have to
we're
add
still
that.
athletes out there having fun. Catching fly balls is about as, as fun of a downtime as it gets,
Until it Jose Canseco's you and bounces off your head. That's the only time when it's not as fun. But yeah, that is interesting. So the right field wall a little bit better, and DJ Stewart, who's been falling around a little bit in the outfield, he fell in a good way with that catch because that was a game-saving catch. And then, Chapman doing Chapman things, just absolutely wild in the 10th inning. After a former Met legend who, had a jersey shirt made for him by the whole team, Travis Jankowski. How about that? He decided to duck thinking the ball was coming up. That duck cost them a run, and maybe they end up scoring more. And then DJ Stewart walk-off HBP doesn't happen, Jerry. Have you seen that where a guy ducks and, it turns into a double play like that?
I have. It's rare, especially for a guy like Jankowski who understands the impact of that. You want to get hit by the ball because that's a guarantee. So it was an interesting thing, but I think his instincts just took over because, when anytime you feel like you're going to get hit, you kind of do that little crouch. Thanks, Trav. Like, I guess Mets fans still love you.
Yeah, and he's done well for himself this year.
He
good
really
for him.
has.
Good guy, good fielder, good base runner. We've talked about everything but the story of the day, and that is another guy who's going to fight for a roster spot here with 28 games remaining. Where will he play? What position? How often? Let's hope he doesn't get the Mark Vientos treatment at the beginning of his career, where he gets called up and then doesn't play for like 5 days. Ronny Mauricio is on his way to Queens. And you want to talk about being able to sell some tickets. The fireworks, I said in my open at Citi Field, aren't the greatest. But now you get a little game fireworks because you would expect Ronny Mauricio will start. To me, it's better late than never. I thought it should have been done in July. Once you sold, it didn't make a difference because the service time stipulation. Now it's time. Now you got to play him. You got 28 games, Jerry. I'd expect him to play at least 22 of them and see what you have over the course of this last month. What do you think about the call up and what are your expectations here for Ronny?
I think you nailed it. I don't know why it's taken this long. Like, there must be some internal scouting that says something, but I don't understand why he hasn't been up because you're closing your frame on being able to see this guy play baseball at a big league level, which is just different. You can't scout. You had a perfect opportunity to get a better evaluation. Maybe that's what they were scared of. I don't know, but I'm excited for him. He's earned it. He's more than earned it, to be honest. He was the guy kicking the door down at the beginning of the season, ready to go, and he never got the call. He should play every single game. I want to see him play all the games, literally all the games. I want to see him in left field. I want to see him at second base. I want to see him maybe at shortstop if they give Lindor a day at DH or off. And I want to see him at third base. I just want to see the instincts. Is it there? Does he have a nose for getting on the ball? I know his defensive metrics have not been great. At least that's what the scouts say. But I also heard some issue with Francisco Alvarez's defense, and he was great. I remember Michael Conforto wasn't supposed to be playing the outfield, and he can play the outfield. So you never know until you get eyeballs on him and see him at the big league level, because some guys are able to dial it up a little bit when the lights shine the brightest. And I'm super excited to see what he has in store. We know the power's there. I'm excited for him because you never know. Getting called up to the big leagues is out of your control. And at any given point, you can get hurt or your play starts to go down. So when the iron is hot and you can't get called up there, sometimes you feel like it's never going to happen. So I'm super happy for the kid, having his dream come true. And I'm excited to see him in the blue and orange.
You hear that, Buck? Jerry says, give him all the games, all the games, all the games. I'd be shocked 28. If he gets 25, I'll be fairly happy. Give him a day off a week. He's going to end up hitting the most games he's played in a year, once it's all said and done. So listen, Daniel Murphy was god awful in the outfield and then moved to second base and at times looked like a Gold Glover. So if he can find the right position, get comfortable with it, you put him there. And like you said, play him everywhere. Vogelback is not part of the 2024 Mets plans. Like, I know Buck and
I
Pete
hope
love him.
not.
Everyone
I
loves him.
like
You
him.
hope not. Yeah,
Yeah, I
nice
think he's
guy,
a good
but you don't
ball
want him on
player,
the
but
roster. But
yeah.
and so put him at DH. Like, I'm fine Friday if he's DH. I think you play him in the field just for the sake, for the fans, first game, put him out there. And the other side of this you got to factor in is Brett Beatty getting called up Friday. Is Beatty part of these plans? And where does Beatty play? Because he was a little spotty at defense at third. He's played a little left. Where will they play both those guys? Because listen, I don't want to hear the name Danny Mendick again this season. Like, enough is enough with Danny Mendick. Nice guy, good defensive player, cannot hit a lick, Jerry. So you want to see the youth. You want to see a month of what you have in these guys, because like I said with tickets too, I think that's got to factor in. You can't just go for hockey jersey night and Bartolo Colon long sleeve shirt giveaway and then that's it. You got to be able to see some baseball. And while DJ's been nice, Ortega's been a cool little storyline as well, the Mendicks and the Vogelbacks of the world, that's got to end. We got to see the youth exuberance. That's what September should be all about.
Yeah, you nailed it. I want to see, first of all, I'm still all in on Beatty. I think Brett Beatty has got a bright future. I think he's a third baseman. Again, the big leagues is hard. Getting to the big leagues is really, really hard. Staying in the big leagues is even harder. You have to change a lot of your mindset because you've been chasing to get to a thing. And now that you're there, what do you have to do? How do you evolve as a player to sustain success at that level? It's just different. A lot of guys come up and have success and never look back, but majority of guys struggle. And I am not out on Brett Beatty. I still think he's the third baseman of the future. I'm not sure where Vientos fits in as far as having a position. I'm not sure how he fits into the Mets, but I'd like to see him get at bats. And I think you play Mauricio every day. I think all three of these guys need to get in. If they're not going to hit or if they're going to struggle, let them struggle in September when there's nothing on the line, when there's no playoff implications. Let them play defense with a lot of pressure off and let them get that cup of coffee with just smile, enjoy the game, and not have to worry about a team really pushing for the World Series and, a big at bat being on your shoulders and an entire fan base being upset with you because you struck out. Just let them get a breath of fresh air and get going. I want to see him every day.
Let's see all the baby Mets in September.
All babies.
All babies, baby. Lil Baby was in New York last night at the Garden. So there are a lot of babies and babies in New York this week. Little ones, big ones, big babies like DJ Stewart. So DJ Stewart is making this configuration interesting too, because with the way he's playing, it's hard to be like, all right, DJ, you're sitting, Ronnie, Vientos, Beatty are all playing. It should work out something like the month of September with one Alvarez got to play. I know he's struggling, but I'd still like to see him play 5 times a week. It feels like he plays twice a week now. It's interesting because maybe they're figuring out, is Narvaez part of our plans next year? Do we set he's got another year in his contract? But Alvarez, Alonso, McNeil, Lindor, Beatty, Mauricio, Nimmo, Vientos, Stewart. That should be in some form of defensive alignment. That should be who plays here in September for the Mets. And I'm looking forward to it because listen, he's a switch hitter. I've talked with someone who said he's had almost daily conversations with Billy Eppler about being part of the Mets future and being a guy who he sees winning a championship here in Queens. So we'll see if him and Vientos, if they're frustrated with how the Mets have kind of treated them, Mauricio getting passed over by Mendix, by Stewart's, by Ortega, by legit any other human body that was in AAA became before him. So I'd imagine he's got a chip on his shoulder here, Jerry. Like, he's got to come up here and say, you know what? You passed over me months ago when I probably should have been up here. It's time for me to shine. And I think that's a reason, too, for some of the struggles that he did have. I think he had, a 6-week stretch where he was in a bit of a dry spell, Jerry. I think mentally he's thinking to himself, man, I've done everything here. And it just gets monotone. You're playing in AAA every day when you should be in the big leagues. I think we're going to see a monster month out of him. I don't know what it is, but I feel like we're going to see, 6 homers, 15 RBIs. He hits 300. I think we're going to see a big month. I'm going to call it Ronnie Timber, Jerry.
I like that, Ronnie Timber. You made a couple of points, and just from my personal perspective, the slump in AAA I bet there's some definite validity to what you're saying, because it's really difficult for that stuff. I mentioned things that are in your control, to watch guys that are truthfully less deserving than you get called up in front of you, and your dream is right there and you're doing everything in your power to seize it, and guys are leapfrogging you. That's tough. And so when I was up and down a bunch in AAA and the big leagues, when I was with Oakland, that was the hardest part for me, was the making sure that you're not a bitter teammate, that you're not showing up to the ballpark with a chip on your shoulder. So those, how you get 3 days between when you get optioned down and then you have to report. So there's times when I took all 3 days simply to mentally reset, to where if I show up to the clubhouse in AAA, that I'm not acting like I shouldn't be there. You don't want to be a bad teammate. So I'm sure Ronny Mauricio went through a lot of that. I'm sure on the other hand, when he gets called up, that chip on his shoulder, and I'm going to show these guys, might be a little bit there, but they're so overwhelming. A lot of these things that are going on, that you're just so happy to be there. There's so many new things coming your way, and you're soaking all of it in, that I think that little bit of anger might still drive him, but mostly he's just excited to be a big leaguer now. So, but I do expect good things from him. Hitting in the big leagues is different. My expectations for him, I don't have any, but if he does struggle, I'm not going to say this guy can't hit in the big leagues. I promise you that.
It's going to be interesting, because is it enough, Jerry? Like, is a month enough of a sample size where, if he struggles, then he's in trouble. But if he tears it up in September, like, is there a chance he's fighting for a starting spot on the 2024 Mets? Do you think it's enough?
I mean, I think it's enough if he can show, but to me, the sample size, again, we talk about why he didn't get called up a couple of months ago. I don't understand it, because you want some lead time to evaluate. But I mean, DJ Stewart showing in a month what kind of impression he can put on you. If Ronny Mauricio comes up and is hot and is showing that power, especially on a team that's lacked that some pop from outside of Pete and Lindor, it'd be an absolute welcome. And the youth side of it, he can make an impression, but I wouldn't put all of the eggs. He could still go have a terrible September, show up in spring training, tearing the cover off the ball, and earn his way onto the team again.
Ronnie Timber is upon us. Danny Reyes August just wrapped up with the start of his life. How about that? Saw Jeff bring him back. We talked about DJ Stewart. Another guy who came to the big leagues and made an impression quite quickly was also in the news waves on Wednesday, and that would be the polar bear, Pete Alonso. Jerry, as Disha Thozar of Fox Sports has reported about the potential toxic, Sal didn't necessarily say it in that way. He said that the clubhouse is toxic and Pete Alonso is part of it. But that was shot down by Eric Chavez, who she talked to. They called it a BS report. There's been multiple players apparently who are now fighting or are talking to the front office about extending Pete Alonso. There's a lot to unwrap here, Jerry. I'll hand it off to you. What do you think about Pete Alonso, the clubhouse toxicity, if that's even a word, and his future here in Queens?
Well, one thing I do know is I cannot see a point where Pete Alonso is a toxic part of any bit of clubhouse. This guy is about as classy as it gets. There's a word that John Boy said to me about Pete Alonso. We were trying to figure out what it is, and he's earnest. He is an earnest kid. He's not like, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He's trying all the time, trying to do what's best, say the right things, be the right kind of player. I don't think that he could be toxic. Kind of like what Ronnie went through in AAA. This is I'm sure he's got a chip on his shoulder about the possibility of a trade and not being extended, and seeing all his contemporaries be extended, and McNeil and Nemo. And then it's scary because all the reports that came out that the Mets aren't going to try to contend, or at least go all in for next season on his last year. I can see the narrative there, but I would be beyond surprised if Pete Alonso is a toxic member of the clubhouse, making things difficult or or chippy. I'm sure there's some issue with him when the front office asks him to go out of his way to do more and more stuff off the field, or go meet and greet here and do that and sign these autographs. I wouldn't be upset with him if he's like, you know what, you guys commit more to me and I'll commit myself even more, because he does so much anyway. That maybe, but I don't see Pete being a bad form of anything.
Do you think that the Mets are wrong for listening to offers? I mean, you're right. Like, if they're not going to compete for a championship next year, there is some thought to trading him and then maybe signing him in free agency. If he really does love New York and does want to play here, maybe he does that. He goes a year somewhere else. Are they right to potentially listen to offers, or do you think that's completely wrong?
No, I think it's right. I think that it would be silly not to. Field offers. You want to make your team better in the future, and no one player is above the franchise when it comes to that. They have every right to. I don't like the fact that this stuff becomes public. That is unnecessary. You don't need to hear about what could have been. Watching Wilmer Flores, show emotion on the field. Like, these are things that shouldn't come up. It's out of your control. You have no idea when, if, whatever could be. Behind the scenes, they listen to offers for everybody. The fact that it becomes public and he has to talk about it with 3 minutes to go after a post game, like that bothers me. That's part of what it makes New York unique. It's going to be a story, so you can't be upset, but I wish that he didn't have to answer about what ifs, you know what I mean? And so that becomes a thing. But the Mets are an organization, and again, if he's not in their future and they don't want to sign him, or they do want to sign him, they have every right to go about it however way they want to. Pete can also feel how he wants. He can say, all right, you guys don't want to sign me. You don't want to trade me, or you want to trade me. Now I don't like the Mets. He has a right to do that too, but he has to still show up every day, be the same person, and still play baseball. So you can go about it understanding that there's personalities at stake. I have no problem with the Mets fielding offers for him, because why wouldn't you? And I wouldn't take it personal if I were Pete, but I definitely would use it as leverage in a possible negotiation.
This is Amazing But True with the New York Post. So there are always stories. We don't create back page stories on this podcast. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because the fans are going to throw a riot if you trade him. But if you get blown away by a package, I think you have to do it. I mean, he's been here 5 years and they've had one good regular season. Other than that, this hasn't been a championship caliber team. So you get rid of him, you can still be competitive next year if you have a great off season. Listen, you're not going to replace his production. We talked about this on the last show. The first base free agent market is not good. I mean, you expect guys like Votto to stay and a Muncy to stay after that. It is slim pickings, Jerry. It's like the Brandon Belts of the world and guys who maybe will hit 20 homers, hit 250, drive in 70, but you're not getting Pete Alonso production. But I could already sense it. I sense if a trade happens, fans go absolutely nuts. But you got to get a haul. I don't think it's just like you get a Verlander return. You get a prospect or two. I think you got to get a MLB ready player, preferably pitching help, and a couple of prospects, because this is a 40 to 50 homer guy. You got to get the right level back.
Pete Alonso you don't find these guys anymore. He is a true cleanup hitter, an absolute powerful human being consistently. That I think the 40 home run mark is so important for him because it ups his value. He's a serviceable first baseman defensively. He's going to do just fine over there. He's going to work hard. He could get better. He's working every day. His skill set of hitting is going to be there if he starts to move into the DH role. If you want other guys to play first base, he's shown that he can do it from the DH position. And he shows up every day. This guy plays every single day. He wants to play every day. He takes pride in it. I love Pete Alonso. But if the Mets truly aren't contending, the trade value that they could get for him, and I'm not vouching and saying they should trade him. I think he's an excellent player, and I wish that he is a guy that could break all the records in the Mets home run department, all that, I think that would be an amazing thing. But I'm okay with, after the Braves didn't sign Freddie Freeman, like my whole world was shattered that they let that guy go to trade Younger. Yeah. So I'm okay with them moving on. I think the fans have a right to be upset because Pete's a very likable guy. He is a easy fan favorite. He's fun to root for. He's got a cool nickname. He does all the right things like we talked about earlier. But if you can get some elite pitching, upside, which the New York Mets are, I'm not a minor league system guy. I don't dive too deep into prospects and stuff like that, but I know they're missing elite talent. If you can get some really, really high end prospects for him on the pitching side, having first base opens up stuff for Vientos and Mauricio and Beatty and all these other DJ Stewart. If you're not going to contend, go out and get some high end pitching for Pete Alonso, because the haul for the return for him is going to be enormous.
I agree. And, you already have the people. If they treat Pete Alonso, I quit on being a Mets fan. I'm not renewing my tickets. I say season tickets is a terrible investment anyway. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the Mets ticket sellers. I'm a very much pick last minute $5 ticket kind of guy. So I don't think that's a smart investment anyway. So if you cancel, the Mets will be mad, but your wallet will be very happy because you're losing a lot of money on the games that you do sell. But you're going to see the outrage, but I agree. I'd say if you get a great return, go get some help, because this pitching in this organization, Jerry, is depleted. We'll see if we see him. Vasil, we'll see if we see a guy like Bidwell. I don't think we'll see him this year, but other than that, there's no one. There's relievers like Lavender and there was McFarland in terms of a veteran who was doing well. He came up here and pitched bad. So there are not many options. Jerry Blevins is with us for a few more minutes on Amazin But True. Jake Brown, Jerry Blevins. Follow him on Twitter at Jerry Blevins. Catch him on the SNY pre- and post-game show. Jerry, do you like what they did at the deadline? I know we're a month later. I didn't like them punting on the season. What say you?
I'm never in for punting on a season, especially with the pieces. But I like what they did. I respect it. They didn't go half in, half out. I think the Yankees missed out on choosing one or the other. There's some other teams. I like the fact that they said they did the version of on the other side. They said, all right, we're done. You guys haven't shown us enough, which I can't argue against. I think they got solid return for some guys. I like what they did. I wouldn't have done it myself. I wish they would have, traded for Chapman earlier, like when the Rangers did it, because they needed that help. I don't think that they would have turned it around, to be honest. So I think that they did the proper thing from an organizational standpoint. I think the haul, like the returns were solid enough. Again, I didn't like it, but I respect the fact that they went all in the opposite direction.
Do you think Billy Eppler's back? Do you think Buck Showalter's back next season?
I have no idea.
It's very 50-50 right now. It is tough to answer.
Yeah. I think it would be like, who's going to be the manager? I don't know how you replace a Buck Showalter, because he does so many things in an organization. If there's a rift there between the front office, if they go out and David Stearns decides he wants to be the president of baseball ops, I'm not sure. I don't know Billy Eppler that well. We've had a bunch of conversations, all friendly and he's very smart. I don't know if he could be an underneath subordinate type guy, or if he wants to do that. That's all beyond me. I don't know what that looks like. I would be surprised. I'm 50-50 on if Buck returns. That's more in my neck of the woods, the on-field talent. I'm 50-50. How do you feel about it?
I think if they're going in the direction of youth and maybe not a championship contender, I'd say they both mutually agree to part ways, and maybe they go with a younger manager and a guy who might have more of a feel with the younger guys.
Like who?
I don't know. That's the thing. Is
there anybody out there?
It's usually one of those newer guys, former player that works. I don't have a name off the top of my head. I haven't done a full deep dive on it. but I think they might go that younger route. I don't know. I think it depends. But if they say to Buck, hey, we're probably not winning a championship, we'll leave it up to you. You have a year left on your contract. Do you want to get paid and then go to Cancun for a year and vacation? Or do you want to deal with some headaches and a team that's maybe finishes around 500? So I think it's on him. I don't know the name, but I like Buck, but part of me would like to see a younger manager who might relate with a team that's probably going to be younger next year. So like I said, yeah, it's 50-50. I don't know. And Eppler, I hope he is not making many baseball decisions. I'm sorry. I know he went in, he got good prospects, Jerry, but he had the benefit of an owner that was able to pay teams $50 million and take on contract. So any other team, he might not have the same success. And I thought he had an absolutely god-awful trade deadline last year where you lost prospects that you had to make up for losing some of those guys for the rentals that you got in the Naquins and the Ruffs and the Vogelbacks of the world. So, he hit on free agents last year. They worked out. Some of them not as good this year with the Canna and Marte. But again, I think it's 50-50. He's under contract 2 more years, so they might just change his title and have, Stearns make all the real baseball decisions. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, Jerry. I will say
definitely interesting. I said,
when is it not in Mets land? When is it not?
That's it. I said it before we went on. The Mets are, regardless of record, the Mets are never boring.
Never boring indeed. And neither are your fits. I got to say, at SNY, I consider myself quite the fashionista. I walk in a room and I'm usually loud with what I'm wearing. I feel weird when I wear like a normal white tee or just a normal shirt. I need to have some funky town in it. Some Lips, INC, one hit wonder, funky town. You are funky town of SNY. I've texted you once because you had like a brown blazer on that I loved. And you always have good blazers. Now, is that a SNY thing or is that from the personal Jerry Blevins collection of blazers?
Yeah, these are I wish SNY supplied. That would fuel my needs and my my obsessions. I love fashion. It's all me. This body wasn't built to look good in a baseball uniform. I'm tall and lean, but a suit fits me much better. So I always feel really comfortable in my off the field clothes. I think they fit me. I feel good when I dress with a personality. As you say you wear loud stuff. I'm not afraid to be subtle. Like, right now I've got the dad cardigan on. But when I wear a suit, I feel good in it. I like to look good and it's fun for me. I enjoy dressing up. So I'm glad you noticed. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad it's from your personal collection. That makes me like it even more that it's your own fits. I'm curious where you get them because I'm a big thrift shop guy. Like they closed my favorite thrift shop, Buffalo Exchange, here in Astoria, Queens, and heartbroken by it. I also found out my brother's puppy died the same day. So I lost brother's puppy and my favorite thrift shop in the same day. Just a horrid turn of events. And then I had a nephew the next day. So I lost a puppy, a thrift shop, and gained a baby by my brother. So a wild week in the Brown family. But do you have like a store? Like, where do you go to get these?
I go all over. I can't really, anything off the rack doesn't fit this body. I'm like at 6'6" and 190 pounds, like, and my shoulders are narrow. It's like hard. And now from pitching, my left arm doesn't go all the way straight. So I have to get like that sleeve cut. So, but I'm all over the place. I'm never afraid to find something anywhere. I have a few people that I like to make suits for me, but I'm also, I see a jacket at H&M or Indochino, all those kinds of things. I'm not against inexpensive or, all those things. If you look good and you like it and it's comfortable and you feel good in it, I'm all for it.
Fashion icon. Jerry Blevins is about to be walking New York Fashion Week.
I wish
year.
That would be awesome. I wasn't good enough at baseball to do that.
You were an elite lefty reliever. What do you mean?
I don't have the kind of pull that Matt Harvey does, that kind of thing. I'd be like, oh, I want to go there, Matt. Can I be your +1?
And you were never his +1. Damn. Well, I
don't blame him.
Your other former teammates mentioned Matt Harvey. Our producer Andrew Hart just let us know that the Guardians have officially released Noah Syndergaard. How about the fall from grace from your former teammate? Damn, that was surprising.
Yeah, that's tough, man. You never know about Tommy John and stuff like that. That guy, I know he works. I've seen this human being in the gym. We all know he doesn't ever wear a shirt. I know he tried his hardest to get back that velocity. I'm sure he's going through a rough time. He's always been good to me. I like Noah. I consider him a friend. You see a 40-year-old like Justin Verlander bounce back so easy from Tommy John and have arguably the best year of his career. And then a young, fairly young physical specimen like Noah Syndergaard not get that velocity back. So, it's unfortunate. He's such a fun character. Baseball's better with him being elite. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he comes back or does like a CC Sabathia and figures it out at a lower velocity, and he can come in and pitch and have a long career.
A 6.50 ERA this year. He just turned 31, and he did tweet and then deleted immediately that Cleveland sucks anyway. So he wasn't a big.
Now that hurts my feelings. I love Cleveland.
Oh, there's a handful.
I don't take things personal.
There's a handful there. Listen, you got a museum, you got some underachieving sports teams there. I haven't been, so I'm not gonna hate too much on Cleveland.
Don't go in the wintertime. Don't go in the wintertime.
Yeah, I wouldn't even consider that. There's no Johnny Manziel to see in the fall there in Cleveland. So maybe I'll go sometime in the summer, and you can go sometime in SNY and see Jerry Blevins, formerly of Shea Station. We got to thank you for giving some of your old listeners to us. Maybe they came and then quickly left, and they're like, "We miss welcome. Jerry and Jolly." Yeah, thanks
I'm heartbroken
so much.
that it left. It wasn't our decision. It's a business thing, and it is what it is. But you might see me on a podcast here or there in the future. I'm looking around, shopping my talents to try to fill that void because I love doing it. So,
oh, you're fantastic, and we were sad to see you guys go, and it's part of the business. Listen, it is oversaturated. We do here at the New York Post these local teams, but we're not like we're not going to make a boatload off local team podcasts. There's $1 million for each team, so it is very tough financially to make it work with these team shows. A lot of it you do for the love of the team, the fun, and to be able to cover the team on an audio and video side, which you guys do well, which I think we do well, and we do better when we have you on. Jerry Blevins, enjoy Ronnie Timber. Enjoy your new Blazer collection. Looks like you're about to go play a few rounds at the U.S. Open right now with your Taylor Swift cardigan on.
I wish I could go to the U.S. Open. That made me it's one of the best events I've ever been a part of, been around. That's so fun. If you can't get out to Citi Field and go out to see some tennis too, it's wonderful.
Well, it's funny you say that. I tweeted it because I don't know what to do. I was given tickets yesterday afternoon to Friday U.S. Open at night, thinking, I don't need to be at the Mets game. I'll go Saturday for the corduroy hat giveaway. I don't need to see the fireworks. And then Ronnie's getting called up. So I'm thinking of going to Citi, seeing Ronnie's first at bat, and then heading over to the U.S. Open. Do you think I got to pull the double duty, right?
I think so. I mean, it's such an amazing event. They do it's awesome. You got to be there for Ronnie. This is your bread and butter. You got to be there. But I wouldn't fault you if you decide to sneak over.
Yeah, well, there'll be no vouchers for any giveaways on the way out. I'll just wave goodbye and say, see you tomorrow. And we'll see you soon. Jerry Blevins, thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure, Jake. Thanks for having me.
Great stuff there from Jerry Blevins, one of my favorite guests, one of the best dressed guests. Good looking guy as well. The tall, lanky Jerry Blevins, who honestly could be a better part of the bullpen than Trevor Gott, who blows yet another game. I mean, that was the total punt move by Buck Showalter, putting Trevor Gott in as closer on Monday. You knew they were losing that. And then Drew Smith doing what Drew Smith. I mean, Drew Smith cannot be on this team next year as he sucked it up Tuesday. And shout out to Donna in the SNY suite. Our buddy Donna, the suite attendant, been there for years and years. I was actually trying to have her on the show today and have a spot with Donna in the suite. I've been where Gary, Keith, and Ron sat. People who listen to the show know I love the suite. I'm in suites a lot, and it's a great suite. Donna's great. So that was awesome for them to watch in there. I wish I was there. And our buddy Jamie and her daughter from Cadillac also there getting FaceTime in the suite. Her daughter was the one got the Keith signing the card on the air. So that was really cool to see that. And I think they should do that a couple times a year, maybe once a month. Do a game from a suite. And I couldn't relate more to Gary. We were talking about the food. Anything I feel when I'm just eating nonstop when I'm in there, when they keep giving you more and more food, you go home feeling like a fat lard and you pray for your toilet. That will wrap up episode 175 of Amazin But True, New York Mets podcast from the New York Post. Thanks to Andrew Hartz for helping me in producing the show. Subscribe to Amazing But True on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast. And subscribe to the New York Post Sports YouTube page. Find that Amazing But True playlist. Watch us on there. And give us a thumbs up below. Comment below. Should Ronny Mauricio be playing every day? Of course he should. But what do you want to see here in the month of September from the Mets? Do you want to see all the baby Mets? Do you want to see more DJ Stewart? Let us know. Comment below your thoughts and your thoughts on Jerry Blevins and his fit games. What do you like about his fit games? Follow us on Twitter at Jake Brown Radio, at Amazin But True. Friday is fireworks night. It's Ronny Mauricio night. So I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to the Met game, see Ronnie's first at bat as a Met. And then right after that, I think I'll head to the U.S. Open. You know, U.S. Open, they're normal seats, 300. So, you know, if it was better or sweet, I probably would have just went there. But I got to see Ronnie at least one at bat. Kind of wish I didn't take the U.S. Open tickets now because I'd like to see the full game from Ronnie and the fireworks. And oh, well, Saturday I was planning to go because it's the corduroy hat. Kind of looks like a cool hat. I want that. Better than the MLB Network hat that they gave away Wednesday. The corduroy hat looks pretty cool, so I want that. And then Sunday, 11 p.m., the 30-minute show, Picks 11. I'll be a guest on Picks 11. So tune in, 11 p.m., Sunday night. I'll be on Picks 11 for the first time. I didn't get on last week because there was no rain delay. It was good to go in the studio. It was good to go to the game in a suit after. Everyone's like, what the hell? Is that you? So I'll put the suit on. I believe it'll be on Zoom. So I'll be doing it from this seat on Picks 11. So tune in for that. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Amazing But True. Enjoy Ronnie Timber. Enjoy Ronny Mauricio's debut. We'll be there at the ballpark. We'll see you there this weekend against the first place Seattle Mariners. And because DJ Stewart walked it off, let's go Mets.